Picture this. A peaceful village is burning to the ground, a wandering mercenary is just trying to get some sleep, and a sacred stone is suddenly split right in two. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into the thrilling, blood-soaked saga of Ninja Scroll, and we're going to recount this epic from the very beginning. We're going to experience this entire story completely chronologically from the very first drawn blade to the final falling ash. So get comfortable because we are in for a wild ride through a world of rival ninja clans, demonic assassins, and a lost dynasty's ultimate world-shaking secret. We literally kick things off in a state of absolute chaos. Deep in the mountains, a brutal, horrifying massacre is being carried out by the grotesque assassins of the Kimin clan. And right at that exact same time, a wandering mercenary named Jubei Kibagami is just seeking a little quiet refuge in the woods. But, he's violently awakened when a deadly skirmish spills right into his camp. A dying ninja from the Haruko clan, completely desperate to protect a mystical artifact, thrusts half of a sacred talisman right into Jubei's hands before taking his last breath. Meanwhile, over in a quiet, isolated village, a young woman named Shigure is forced to watch her entire world go up in flames as the Kimin clan mercilessly slaughters her friends and family. So as she's fleeing her burning home, Shiguru's true identity finally comes to light. She is the Light Maiden, a mysterious, prophesied figure who is meant to unlock the ancient treasures of the lost Haruko clan. Completely alone and actively being hunted, she soon crosses paths with a pretty eccentric duo. We've got an old, cunning priest and spy named Dakun, and a young, incredibly loudmouth thief named Subude. Together, this incredibly unlikely trio forms a reluctant alliance, and they set off on a really dangerous journey to figure out exactly why Shiguru's village was targeted and what her whole destiny actually entails. Now, at the absolute center of all this chaos is the Dragonstone. Remember that half of a talisman that was literally thrust upon Jubei? Well, it turns out it's the ultimate key to a lost dynasty's untold power and wealth. And because Jubei is carrying it, he instantly has a massive, glowing target painted right on his back. I mean, every demonic freak from the Kimin clan and every desperate shadow warrior from the Haruko clan wants him dead so they can claim it for themselves. Jubei, being a mercenary who honestly just wants to be left alone, repeatedly tries to ditch the stone, but fate just continuously binds his path directly to Shiguru's. As you can imagine, the road ahead is totally treacherous, and Jubei reluctantly finds himself acting as Shiguru's de facto bodyguard. Along the way, the group's bonds are really put to the test. Subuti actually encounters an old friend, Tatsunosuke, who is so incredibly desperate to escape poverty that he's actually considering joining the bloodthirsty Kimon clan. Subute steps up and manages to save his friend from crossing that dark point of no return, which really proves there's a heart of gold beneath his whole thief exterior. But unfortunately, these little emotional victories are super short-lived. A torrential, deadly rainstorm quickly forces our battered group to seek refuge in an abandoned shelter, and wow, this is where things take a truly terrifying turn. Okay, so inside this shelter, a seemingly innocent encounter morphs into absolute nightmare fuel. They meet a traveling widow and her young son. But the widow actually recognizes Jubei as the man who killed her husband years ago in a duel. Desperate for revenge, she poisons Jubei's drink. But here is the massive twist. The widow has actually been possessed by a horrifying, shape-shifting flesh demon from the Kiamon clan. So even while he's poisoned and struggling, Jubei has to engage in this harrowing, claustrophobic battle against this parasitic entity. He eventually manages to slay the demon, saving the widow's young son in the process, and he tells the boy to grow up strong and free. And seriously, the threats just do not stop coming. Shortly after that, half of the Dragonstone gets stolen by a beautiful Haruko tree demon named Blossom. But before Blossom can even secure the thing, she is ambushed, captured, and brutally tortured by this massive mosquito-like Kimon ninja. It's awful. Thankfully, Jubei tracks them down, completely slays the Kimon assassin, and frees Blossom. And when she witnesses Jubei's undeniable strength and realizes he is genuinely trying to protect the Light Maiden, her true loyalties awaken. In this rare, genuinely touching moment amidst all the bloodshed, Blossom has a total change of heart. She willingly hands the stone right back to Jubei, entrusting him with the entire future of the Haruko clan. But the path forward is paved with more violence. The bloodshed continues as Jubei crosses blades with a deformed Kimo ninja named Gashi, ultimately striking him down. Now, Gashi's sister, Rengoku, is utterly consumed by grief and this raging thirst for vengeance. She attacks Jubei relentlessly, and when she is fatally wounded, she simply refuses to die. In a truly horrific display of dark magic and sheer stubborn willpower, she literally merges her own limbs with her dead brother's corpse to fight Jubei one last time. It is a grotesque, incredibly emotionally charged battle that ends with both siblings finally laid to rest, which really showcases the tragic, endless cycle of violence that completely consumes the Kimon clan. Now, you'd think the humans would be the good guys here, right? Well, actually, scratch that. Shigiri desperately seeks out the Ora Yagyu clan for sanctuary. These are the very people who raised her in secret. But instead of salvation, she finds absolute betrayal. You see, the Ora Yagyu originally raised her with the intention of using her as a weapon against the Tokugawa shogunate. But now that she is being actively hunted by the Kimon clan, she's suddenly become a massive political liability. So they coldly ambush her out in the forest, fully intending to assassinate the very girl they were supposed to be protecting. Just as these Yagyu assassins are closing in for the kill, salvation arrives from the most unexpected place imaginable. Zofu, a highly skilled Hiruko ninja, steps in, slaughters the attackers, and rescues Shigure. But Zofu is harboring a really dark secret. A demonic parasite lives inside his stomach, slowly taking over his body. Later on, beneath the moonlight, Zofu intentionally forces Jubei into a duel. Why would he do that? Well, Zofu knows the parasite will only expose itself if his life is in imminent, mortal danger. He's basically using Jubei's legendary sword skills to commit this twisted form of samurai suicide. Jubei slashes the parasite, killing the monster, but tragically it takes Zofu's life in the process, finally granting the noble ninja his freedom. With all these different factions just tearing each other apart, the true mastermind finally steps out of the shadows. Meet Yamidoro, the absolutely ruthless leader of the Kimon clan. Yamidoro wants the Lost Kingdom's treasure for one reason: to fund a massive, apocalyptic war to utterly destroy the Tokugawa shogunate. To get his hands on it, Yamidoro brutally intercepts Rokai, a clumsy, plant-like monkey demon who had foolishly kidnapped Shigure in this incredibly misguided, pure-hearted attempt to just protect her from the world. Yamidoro mercilessly strikes poor Rokai down, capturing the Light Maiden for his own dark, twisted purposes. Desperate to get Shigure back, Jubei, Dakun, and Tsubute board a ship bound for Kyushu, but as you can probably guess, they are not alone. This voyage rapidly devolves into absolute chaos. Jubei is forced to fend off a breathless, multi-faction ambush on a moving ship. First, the stoic and deadly swordsman Renya Yagyu strikes across the deck, absolutely determined to take the Dragonstone. Then, right in the middle of this bloody, high-speed skirmish, a terrifying spider-like Kimon Hug who is disguised as a harmless old woman manages to snatch half of the stone. It's literally a claustrophobic fight for survival on the open ocean. Eventually, the surviving characters all converge on the volcanic ruins of the Lost Kingdom. The few remaining members of the Hiruko clan emerge from the shadows, falling to their knees to welcome their Light Maiden. They truly believe their generations of hiding in the dark are finally over. But that lifelong dream, it is shattered in an instant. Yamidoro and his Kimon forces launch a devastating, completely ruthless ambush, massacring the hopeful Hiruko clan right at the finish line. They leave the clan's ancient sanctuary completely bathed in blood. But despite the horrible massacres, the prophecy fulfills itself anyway. And that brings us to the magic number 2. The two halves of the sacred Dragonstone are finally, at long last, reunited at the colossal ancestral gate right in the middle of a terrifying sea of volcanic fire and magma. The key is completely formed and the gateway to the Lost Dynasty is finally forced wide open. As the ancient tomb preaches, the massive truth is finally laid bare. There is no physical gold in there. There are no mountains of shiny coins. As Yamidoro quickly realizes, the Light Maiden and the treasure are one and the same. Shigure herself literally possesses the apocalyptic, reality-bending powers of the Ancient Ones, flowing right through her very blood. She is the ultimate weapon, and she is the ultimate prize. So faced with this literal godlike power, Shigure makes a profound choice. She completely rejects her ancient abilities, declaring that she only wants to live a normal life. And this choice? It triggers the immediate, violent destruction of the ancient tomb. As the entire volcanic mountain starts collapsing around them, Jubei engages in one final, breathless, epic battle. He slices right through Yamidoro's elite shadow warrior and defeats Renya Yagyu amidst all the falling, burning debris. With the cave totally caving in on them, Jubei stays behind to ensure the absolute end of the Kimon threat once and for all. When the literal dust finally settles, the story concludes with an incredibly quiet, beautiful resolution. Shigure survives and fully embraces the normal agrarian life she always dreamed of.
Daquan the priest and Subate the thief, having been forever changed by this insane journey, actually settle down to help her harvest the fields. They've found their own quiet slice of heaven. But what about our mercenary? Well, Jubi Kibagami survives the collapse, of course, but he doesn't stay. True to his nature, he turns his back on peace and wanders right back off alone into the unknown.
Which leaves us with this lingering, powerful thought. Will Jubei ever find true peace in a world ruled by demons and swords? Or is the sky simply the sky, wherever a mercenary goes? Thank you so much for joining me for this complete explainer of Ninja Scroll. It's been an absolute blast to recount this journey with you, and I will catch you on the next one.